Well, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm glad to be part of your project, Nathan. I am Biagio, I'm from Italy, and I am a journalist. I'm working on different stuff, but uh, mainly my work is about space. I produced contents like videos, pictures about space and space-related places, and this is the great part of my work. And yes, space is my lifelong passion, as you can imagine, and as you can see behind me. And yes, that's it. I got a bachelor degree in aerospace engineering, and this is my background. And yes, as many of us, since I was a child, I dreamed of being an astronaut. And yes, that's it. That's me.
Well, I noticed one of the books behind you says Luna question mark. What's that
Yeah.
about?
Well, the author of this book is a friend of mine, is Paolo Attivissimo, and he has written this book to answer the common questions about the fake moon landing, the moonbox. And the reason why he wrote this book, he has written this book, is just to answer and to destroy, finally, to debunk the moonbox theories. And he did a great job, and I love it. And there is also an English version of this book, so I kindly advise you to read it. It's
I
really a good job. Yeah.
I definitely will. My orders to Amazon books is constantly growing.
Wow.
Um, so I do you know why people have doubts about the lunar landing? I mean, like, what motivates people to question it?
Well, actually, because there are people who wanted to make money with strange theories, and just watching a couple of pictures, they told us that we had never been on the moon, because some shadows are strange, some lights on that pictures are strange, and many other terrible theories that I hate totally. And the problem is that sometimes people believe them, and you have to be an advocate of space to explain step by step that we have the proofs, we have the evidences of our landing on the moon. You have sometimes to invite them to shake hands with Apollo astronauts, like I did in the past, and to explain them that it's true, we did it, and we are gonna do that again in 2025, 26 maybe.
27, 28.
27.
Um,
My
well,
English is awful, but I hope to be understandable.
I understand you perfectly.
Thank you.
Um, so what got you into aerospace engineering?
Sorry, say it again, please.
You said you got a degree in aerospace engineering.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, why did you get a degree in aerospace engineering, and what interests you in space? Like, do you remember when you got interested?
Wow. As I said before, as I mentioned, well, space is a lifelong passion to me, and since I was a child, as I said, I dreamed to be an astronaut, and I clearly recall that my father would tell me about the brave Apollo astronauts who went to the moon when he was a young man, and I was so inspired and so interested about it. And I recall that we bought our first telescope when I was a child. I was maybe 8 or 9. And since then, space became a driving factor in my life, in everything I did. And as I said, it's a lifelong passion, and I couldn't imagine to have a different work or a different education. Space is definitely what I love. Yeah.
Um, but You said ever since you were a child, do you remember the first time you became aware of space? Like, was it a movie? Did you go someplace? Did somebody talk to you? Was it at school?
Well, there's not a specific event, but I remember at school, uh, maybe I was seven, 7 or 8, and we started talking about astronauts, how they flew to space on board these space shuttles, and everything started there at school with the help of my father with his stories about the Apollo program, in particular of the Apollo 8 astronaut who left the Earth for the first time without knowing what they have gotten there in going to the moon. They didn't know what what were about to happen there, and yes, there is not a specific event, but I clearly recall that I was a child and I was 7 or 8, maybe.
And you ended up becoming a space journalist instead of an engineer or an astronaut. Uh, could you talk a little bit about your journey? Like, how did you end up here?
Well, that's a good question. Life is strange, first of all. And I discovered my passion for journalism when I was an adult. Traveling, I loved to tell to the people what was happening in the places I visited, like spaceports or space-related places. And I noticed the interest of the people listening to the story of space. And so I decided that in the future, I wouldn't have been inside an office for my entire life, just checking tables or I don't know, spending my time inside another kind of working environment. I want to be outside. I want to tell people what is happening and what's gonna happen in the future, like the next moon landing. And yeah, I felt fine being a journalist. This is my new passion, and I would say that I combined my two great passions, traveling and space, and I found this right center point, doing journalism and trying to explain people what space is and why it's so important.
Now, are most of your readers space people, or are they non-space people?
Well, I would say that there are 80-90% space enthusiasts, and the fact that the readers increased in the last year, in the last 18 months, it's a good signal, because I noticed that that number increased after the launch America, the first launch last year. And yes, I would say they are mostly space enthusiasts, but that number is increasing, and I'm really happy about that.
Um, my original plan with this project was to go to people at coffee shops and at the store and on the street and ask them, "Hey, did you know we're going to the moon? What do you think about it?" That type of thing. So I
Not
did
bad,
that.
not bad, not a bad idea.
Became a lot more challenging with COVID lockdowns, though. Going up to random people is
I can understand. I can understand.
so we had to become more flexible with
Yeah,
the virtual thing. But most of the non-space people that I talked to, like 80% of them, had no idea we were planning to go back to the moon. And I was wondering, and this is in the US, which presumably would
wow.
have the biggest stake
Wow.
in knowing about that. I was wondering if that surprises you.
Well, man, it's a good question, but I would say that people mostly interested in a fact that they are super close to them. So, for example, what happened in political, what happened in their city, space is sometimes um, seems to be too far from us. And I can understand this because our news, our newspaper, and our media in general don't talk too much about space. They talk about space only in certain cases, like we're landing on a comet, or we have a new astronaut, Italian astronaut on the space station. But the news lasts about 1 week or 4 days, and then it was like it was disappeared. It has disappeared. So we need to talk more about space, and this is one of our mission, one of my mission.
But the people that already are interested in space, they'll dig and look and find. But the people who aren't interested, do you have any thoughts on how to reach them? Like maybe there's a lot of people who might be interested, but it just never comes up on their Twitter feed or Facebook or news. And
Well, this is not easy, obviously, but I would say that the great factor, the main important thing that we can use is talk with them about how space is important in our common daily life. Why space is so important in our life, for example, for our GPS on our phones, or I don't know, for our medical tools, or whatever. Every day we need space, and if people understand this, people will be attracted and interested in what we are doing in space, because they would know that everything is happening there could improve their own life daily here on Earth. And I could be optimistic on using this strategy. Talk to them about how important is space for their life, and it could work. I think so.
and about us going back to the moon, what do you think about it? How does does it excite you? Are
Wow.
you disappointed they didn't choose Mars, or how do you think about it?
Well, I got aware of this. I became aware of this when they made the announcement a few years ago, and I was super excited. I started to call all my Apollo enthusiast friends. I told them, guys, we're going back there 50 years after the last moon landing. And yes, I was super excited. And I love the fact that they presented this new landing not as a touch and go, but they said, we are going to stay this time. We're going to stay and to learn as much as possible to fly to Mars. That was really interesting and exciting, because there is a plan this time. There is not a race between two countries, apparently, apparently, but there is a plan. And another factor that I loved so much is that Artemis is not only an American program. There is a teamwork. There are many countries working on it. I think there are 11 or 12 so far. I don't remember exactly the name. Italy is one of them, for example. And I think that teamwork pays off. And we're going to do that. I'm not so convinced. I would say I'm doubtful and skeptical about the deadline. And when I heard the President Trump saying 2024, I just did the math. And I said, wow, 2024 is super close, but it would be his last year of presidency if he had won the last elections. And so I thought, okay, he wanted to be the president of the returning on the moon, and it was understandable, but 2024 was really too close. So I saw that as a political deadline, not a scientific deadline. And another factor I consider a few days later is the fact that in the last few years in the space world, in the space environment, we have a new player. And it's not Russia, it's China. And I would say that it's the right choice to return to the moon now, because they will go to the moon really soon. and I hope and I pray that the western side of the world would be the next one to put the 13th man and the first woman on the moon. Because as I mentioned before, I always seen the American like a country made by pioneers, people who push westward to the unknown. So I would love to see again an American on the moon, and why not an European? It's a good idea. It's a nice idea to think about it.
Yeah, I've talked to other people about this, and I've heard a range of views. One view is, it's important that we get somebody to the moon before China. And other people are like, well, we already went to the moon. We're not going to prove anything by going back. They're just playing catch up, you know.
Well, I hope we were going first. Yeah.
Um, let's see. What do you think we would get out of going to the moon? What makes it worthwhile for humanity? Why is it important?
Well, first of all, we have to consider that everything we do to space, as I said, is improving our life on Earth. So let's imagine the next giant leap. How will it improve and how will it inspire people on Earth? Let's think about the Apollo era, the Apollo age in the 60s. During the 60s, the number of engineers in America doubled in 10 years. What can we do now with these new tools, with this new rocket, with these new images in 4K from the moon? How many people could we inspire with this new challenge, with this new conquest? So first of all, if the question is worth it, yes, absolutely yes. We should go there to inspire as many people as possible to improve our life, to live a better life here on Earth. And on the other hand, let's talk about what astronaut flying on the International Space Station said when they come back on Earth. They said always, this flight changed my life. I said the Earth, and now I developed a sense of protection for the Earth. I want to protect my planet because there is not a planet B. So we can, with these thoughts, we can fight the climate change, for example. I don't know. I think first of all, first thinking about money, it worth because we have to inspire as many people as we can. We have to change the world with this next giant leap. Do you
I,
agree?
I well, I mean, I do. I think there's lots of reasons we should go to the moon. You know, uh, the moon has a lot of scientific value in terms
Yeah,
of, um, you know, meteors are constantly hitting the Earth. Most of them burn up in the sky. The ones that do make it past the atmosphere land. Most of them land in the ocean.
yeah,
And the ones that do land on land, the evidence of them kind of disappears over time as the weathering and the vegetation and other things. But the moon's been traveling through the same volume of space as the Earth. And so those same, a proportion of those same asteroids, same meteors have been hitting the moon. But since the moon has no atmosphere, it has no weather, has no, life that's constantly reforming the
we will leave
surface.
the science forever. We will leave the science forever. Yeah,
Yeah, so, there could be like this whole a group of rocks that are orbiting around the sun in, let's say, a 10,000 year orbit or something like that. So it says right now it's so far out we can't detect it, but potentially, there might be evidence on the moon like every 10,000 years there's a big number of craters that all seem to come together.
yeah, yeah,
So it could provide, we might learn something important like that. It's like, oh, and in 272 years, we're going to have really
Nathan
something,
crater on the moon.
or even worse, a big rock hit the Earth, right?
Yes, would
Uh,
be great. I can wait to see the next moon landing. I would say in 2026, 27, probably before the end of decade. Yeah.
Now, when you look at the far future of humanity, like thinking out 100 years, 500 years, what do you see? Like, where are we?
Well, that's a super hard question, and probably we should look some sci-fi movie to understand where are we in 500 years. For sure on Mars, for sure. Maybe with the cities and not like simple small colonies, but big cities. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the terraforming of Mars. So that we're going to spend years and decades to make Mars more similar to the Earth. And I don't know, in 500 years could happen many things, but I would say that we are going to stay around our solar system for sure. And it depends on our engines, our new engines. If we will not discover new engines to up our speed, to increase our speed, we're going to stay here for a while, maybe.
Now, 500 years is an interesting time frame because
Yeah.
there's another Italian that went on a voyage of discovery, financed by a Spaniard. Um, Christopher Columbus coming
Yeah,
over
exactly.
from
Yes, yes.
from Europe to. Can you
Yeah.
imagine Christopher Columbus and what he thought about today? I mean, like, I wonder if we took like Christopher Columbus from his ships and brought him to today's time, what that experience would be like for him.
Wow. That would be very strange. That would be very strange. But uh, the sensation that I had, the feeling that I had when with the Apollo astronaut when I met them, is right what you are saying. It's like for me, it was like meeting Christopher Columbus because they crossed the oceans of space and landed on the moon. So Christopher Columbus today, I don't know. I don't know exactly what can I answer. Uh, what I thought about him in the past and today is that we are living another age, like the colonialism and like his first mission to the new world. Because as you said, he was on a ship paid by a government, paid by the Queen of Spain, and then decades after Columbus and centuries of Columbus, private companies and explorers discover new islands and push the boundaries farther and farther. And this is what is happening now in space. We have had the NASA conquest of the moon in the 60s, made by a government. And now we have private companies exploring the low Earth orbit and maybe in the future Mars. So the comparison with Christopher Columbus is really right. And I don't know what could he think now if he was with us today, but I would say that history is coming back again with the same method, with the same circle. Did you understand what he said?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely agree. Um, but you originally wanted to be an astronaut, and
Yeah,
this year we've had Inspiration 4, where four non-governmental astronauts, three of
all
which,
civilians. Yeah.
yes, three of which were not billionaires. So,
Really. I
yeah,
said, pick me, please, but he didn't. So.
I said that too. I don't know what's wrong with the system. Maybe I had bad internet that day or something. I don't know.
That was a great mission. And in February, I'll be again in Cape Canaveral to see the second time of this experience, because there will be the Action One launch. And I'll be there in February to see this new kind of all-civilian flight, this time to the ISS. And that's a giant leap, another giant leap in this decade. And yes, the first one was Aspiration 4, obviously, of course. But this time, a private company with a crew made by all civilians will dock at the ISS, and will be great and exciting, really exciting. I can't wait to see them launch from the 39A at Cape Canaveral. Yes.
That will be exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Artemis 1 will happen around that time, but it's
Yeah.
looking like it might be
Fingers
later.
crossed. Fingers crossed. I'll be there in February. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Well, seeing the rocket inside the VAB has been such a release. The SLS inside the VAB. I said, wow, it's gonna happen. It's real. It's gonna happen. Maybe in February. Who knows?
It's like that moment where you're building a bridge across a body of water and you meet up in the middle.
Exactly. Exactly. I hope to
Yeah.
be in the middle in the final part.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, or did you have any questions for me?
Well, for you, I have tons of questions, but one one for all is, how did you have the idea to build this time capsule? It's wonderful. I mean,
Do you remember in 2019 Artemis Day when they had core stage complete
yeah.
and they had that big event? And they were also had a new NASA Associate Administrator, Doug Lavario, who
Hmm.
was going to be the head of the Human Exploration and
Hmm.
Operations Directorate. Well, he had a lapel pin that had the number of days to the end of 2024. And every
Uh-huh.
day he would update that. And he was going to go around NASA and highlight a NASA person of the day. Uh,
Wow.
and so I saw that, and it was like Christmas time, and a whole bunch of things just kind of came together in my head that I should do that for everyday people, non NASA people. So that was kind of the origin of the project.
Wow. Great. Great. That was great. Yeah. Yes, that's it. Nathan, thank you so much. And I hope to see you in Houston, because I am coming to Houston next February after Cape Canaveral. So probably we can meet if you want.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, just email me or call me or something,
Why not?
and maybe I'll see you in Cape Canaveral too. We
Why
could
not? Why not?
both places.
Why not? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, well, take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.